Hi everyone, welcome to our series, The Business of Music. This series of videos will take a look at the business side of the music industry by talking to professionals in publishing, copyright, sync, music, film, and television. This episode, we'll head up to Nashville and talk to Nancy Peacock. Having started off in the songwriting world in Atlanta, Nancy transferred up to Nashville back in 2006 and started Washington Street Music Publishing. It has grown to be one of the most respected all-in-one shops for music publishing for television, advertising, video games, and film all over the world. So sit back, enjoy, and learn about the music industry from one of the best.
Was there one particular thing that was like a real hurdle for you in your career that you had to work to overcome? And how did you do that? I think that's such a valuable lesson.
Right. There are a couple things because I moved to Nashville to live.
Yeah.
It was where I grew up, and so I came back. And to go into the music industry when I moved back 20 years ago it was all country. And I wasn't country. I hadn't been raised on country.
Yeah.
My family was into musicals, and I was into pop and R&B, just anything like that. But rock, of course, with all the great bands. But I realized I was going to have to get into the country world. Then when I switched to the sync, it was like, oh my goodness, all these music supervisors would contact me for country songs at the beginning. And I'd go, what? I don't have, it was funny because even one of them, well, I'm not going to name, but just different ones. And they'd go, we need something to replace a George Jones or such, for a jukebox. And I'm like, really? It's like, but I've been getting all these indie artists and stuff in pop and rock and all these different genres. So it was hard to finally persuade all these people in LA, New York, Chicago, that we can run a multi-genre, music library for sync out of this city. It requires me to go to LA a lot. I go to New York some, not as much as I probably should. But
It's too cold.
Yeah, Chicago definitely.
Yeah.
But Chicago's mostly just advertising, so it's okay. But I love Chicago. I'm not going to say anything bad about Chicago. My mother was born and raised there, so yeah, I love the city. But that's the problem, is being here and not where they think you should be in New York, LA. The other is being female. It's always going to be an issue. The females in the last 20 years in this town have increased in their leadership and roles inside, labels and music publishing houses in PR, and some owning some. Yeah. They're slow to grow, but it's happening. We still aren't, in the audio engineering business, top artists helping those producers or actually running the labels or big publishing houses. But that's been a key thing, is trying to survive in the world of the more male-dominated music industry.
And just being, I think, chosen, fairly. It's such a topic right now, just worldwide. But I think people understanding that it's just like when you are really qualified for a job or qualified for that work, it's so hard when you're not chosen for it and you're the most qualified candidate.
Right.
And so that's so cool that you've been a part of spearheading that in just in the business in general, but definitely in Nashville.
There's some key people here. Leslie Fram at CMT, along with Tracy Gershon, and there's a group that we try to push that, and we have some great women's organizations. I'm part of Source, which is music execs, female music execs, and there are independent publishing companies, organizations, AIMP, the Association of Independent Music Publishers. It's wonderful. Yeah. And it's also in New York and it's also in LA. So if you're in those cities, you can go to their monthly meetings and they educate, but you're also in a mix of key people.
And community,
they
which is
see you,
huge.
and they know your seriousness about your job and your company, and you have those opportunities that don't come very often, where you can talk to someone and see how you can work together. There has to be some kind of win-win situation, always, but you have to be strong enough to just go up and discuss it and find it first, create it, and then offer it when you are in those kind of situations.
If someone was pursuing your particular area and career in the business, what advice do you think you would give them? Like they're just starting out and they say, Nancy, I basically want to be you. Are there key starting points or things that they maybe should try to avoid?
I have one of those right now, actually. Okay. She's just adorable. Yeah. I get Belmont interns every semester, and I love them. And they have gone on to, there are several music supervisors in LA right now that were my interns, and they're A&R at some of the major labels, and one just became partner at a PR firm here. And I follow them. I keep up with them. I mean, we see each other when I go to New York, or it's interesting. And one of the key things, especially with the girl that I have right now, she just not wanted to be in the music business. When she interviewed with me, she said, I want to be a music supervisor. So I want to start working with you because this is what I want to do, and I want to live in LA. And I said, whoa, you are really focused for a sophomore. So.
That's very focused for a sophomore.
Okay, then I will make this happen. Yeah. And so the key thing probably is, if you want to be in this business, you have to know all genres of music. You have to familiarize yourself with bands, artists, keep in touch with, go Spotify, listen to their top playlist. Yeah. So what is the current trend? So maybe you can find those songs to help persuade the music supervisor if it's something new, especially. Yeah. Oh my goodness, the music supervisors would love if you. They say sometimes, I don't care if they have 1 million streams. I want you to find the one that has 2,000 streams. Nobody knows them. And you listen to a song and their voice was so different. You're like, oh my gosh, I could get this going. And the music supervisors have just found Norah Jones, or they just found Jason Mraz or, whoever, because the voice is so different. So I also tell them, if people don't know, there's this wonderful site called TuneFind. And the music supervisors created it so that people like us wouldn't call them every day and go, what are you looking for for your show? And so they put all the songs of every episode of all the seasons of their shows on TuneFind. So all you have to do is spend 1,000 hours on TuneFind, listen to your favorite shows. You can go listen to This Is Us or Riverdale or whatever it may be, even Sesame Street. But, there's money anywhere in the music when it's on TV. And so just start listening and get familiar with that supervisor and why has she chosen this particular theme all for the last 3 seasons of that show. Or you can also tell they do a lot of indie because of the prices of the songs. Yeah. So that's given. They get a budget. They can only use that budget. Sometimes they can get a little more, but usually it's that budget and they have to stay within it and pay themselves too. Right. So there are what you call the ratings, and there's certain weeks of the year that are rating weeks. And so if you're looking down through an entire season, you'll see a week where almost every single song is like, the Ed Sheerans and the J.D. Khalid and Halsey or Chainsmokers or whoever, Imagine Dragons. And you're like, whoa, what a budget.
Where'd they get that from and why not me?
I know. And the rest of them are all unknowns. Right. But so you'll know that that's what they're going for. They're saving some of the budget for those key placements to promote their show and hopefully get the next season. But the rest of them will be more the indie field.
So it's just sort of due diligence, I think. The
Just
thing that you
they've
don't want to
got
do
to
is the
learn the
thing.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wouldn't hurt if you could take some kind of an audio production course,
Right.
because the production sound, you have to know if it's right or wrong when you're going through hundreds and thousands of songs a week.
Yes.
And if it's not right, if it's close, let me put it this way, if it's close and not right, we do not feel badly about talking to the writers and going, would you mind going back in the studio with this and just changing the snare drum here and doing this, or, move the vocals up a little bit. And one thing that the music supervisors really like right now is a sting ending,
Yes.
so it's got to go. We don't fade off for another 30, 45 seconds.
Just
sting it.
stop. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of times, they'll just say, yeah, that'd be fine, because I'm doing it myself or my friend's doing it. So no problem. Sometimes they can't. It's too much to go in and redo.
Yeah.
But that would be the best help to get them started. They should be interning. The best way to do anything is intern with whoever's doing that job. That's
Absolutely.
the only way you can learn.
And just shadow, and I think doing your researching, like you're saying, whether that's music or this girl wanted to be a music supervisor. It's like if I had people that were music supervisors that they were like their style and the shows they worked on, that was something that I really wanted to emulate. And so you kind of have to do your homework.
Right.
Which is what so many people just think. I think that, you do a little bit of interning and then you just glide on into your dream job, and
doesn't happen that
No.
easily, usually. The other thing, people think they have to go somewhere always, to get in front of people like that. But it's not true, because Nashville has one of the best film festivals in the country right now.
It's huge.
It's growing.
Yes.
It's beating out a lot of the others that have been up there in that top 5, section. And so every Nashville Film Festival has workshops, 1, 2, or 3 of them at least, and they're an hour long. And they have the music supervisors sitting there. They've been flown in from LA, New York, Chicago, whatever. You have the opportunity to go sit, and sometimes you can get time to go meet them afterwards and start your career that way.
Yeah.
The AIMP here has a once a year music supervisor event. And then the City Winery, Tom Truitt has a thing called
Who's next? Right? Something like that. And it's great. Who knew?
But it's great. And they have, 6 people flown in, and you really get to talk to them. I mean, as soon as the show's over and they've listened to the people that performed, they just hang around, and there's your opportunity. So you don't always have to go out to Taxi or the ASCAP Expo just to be in front of some music supervisors. You should take advantage of what's offered you right here.
How bad do you want it?
Exactly. You do.
Yeah.
You have to have a passion for these things.
Yes.
There's just no way you will survive.
Yeah.
You just have to love music, love discovering these artists, these sounds, love the creation part and matching, There's just nothing better than when the production company, like if we do a lot of trailers, and they send me the finished product before they put it out on social media and everywhere. And you sit there and you know your song so well, but you haven't seen how that music editor has chopped it up all through that little 2.5 minute trailer. And oh my gosh, it's just overwhelming. Some of the shows have been very sad, like Family Man, and
I love a good cry.
Fathers and Daughters. It had Russell Crowe, and I thought the shows were going to be happy, and then I watched the trailer, and all of a sudden our song started, which is a sad song, and I'm like, oh no, something's going to happen in this movie.
Yeah.
And by the time it's over, I've got tears rolling down my face, because the music brought out that emotion of the scenes, with the thing that was going on that I won't talk about. You have to go see the movie.
Where words fail, music speaks.
Right.
Do you think there's something, and I have been asking a lot of people that lately, in your field specifically, in the music industry, than entertainment, that you would like to see change and grow and evolve that it has not yet?
Atlanta is
Yeah.
becoming the film center, and it's almost
So much.
almost taking over number of films produced LA.
Yeah.
And they know it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's sad for
I was
LA.
sad. It was sad for us because I
Yeah.
was hoping it would be here,
Yeah.
and it didn't happen. But I would still think that it can happen to a degree because of the music industry. It would,
Yeah.
if we could just get one or two big film production companies to come to Nashville. It's going to take changing our Tennessee laws some, to get those incentives. But I've seen it happen in Louisiana.
Yes.
So I know it can. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be LA, New York, and now Atlanta. So I'd like to see that. I would also like to see some music supervisor companies form here.
Yes.
A lot of them are independent. I would say the majority are all independent.
Yeah.
But there are some that have like 6 maybe together, like Format Entertainment, Full Pursuit, Super Music Vision.
Yeah.
There's some of those, and they're great music supervisors. I mean, they get the big films, the big TV shows, and I would love to see somebody start 1 or 2 here.
Yeah.
And that would give us the opportunity to tap into all the film productions in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And yet we'd be closer than LA. So it would be good for all of Nashville.
It really increases the infrastructure, and I think also like it opens a lot of jobs that people don't, that's not necessarily related to music, but a byproduct, because you have people that are catering services that are now employed, and trucking companies, and people that work in wardrobe that maybe were just stylists for music videos, and now they have a different career that's opened up to them that they never could have imagined. Is there one person in your career that has influenced you more than anyone else, that has just inspired you and taught you something along the way? I know that's a loaded question.
That's a loaded. I couldn't say one. I would say my dad was first, and what he taught us was that we should learn to respect and be kind to people that we meet, no matter who they are, if they're the head of another corporation, or if they are a secretary, or if it's somebody else in the building. It doesn't matter. That is what you should do. And you should also be honest. Honesty was huge with my
deal.
family.
Yeah.
And that has resonated because I have seen people ruin their careers by being dishonest, doing dishonest things, and it'll catch up with you.
Yeah.
It'll catch up with you.
Yeah.
You want to be able at the end of the day and the end of your career to be able to say there was integrity. People can trust you. People, know that they can work with you and you're not going to do something horrible to them.
Yeah. Just try to be a good
Turn around
person.
and cheat on them or whatever.
Right.
I know. Jan Smith, who owns this one of the top coaching places in the country, she, the caliber of Usher, and she was Bieber's, person, and trained Shania Twain to go back into Vegas, and Nicki Minaj and Drake, and she's just got amazing people that she works with. But she's been on the board of trustees for the Recording Academy for years. They have sent her to China to try to get rid of piracy and teach them some ways and how to do music organizations. But she has taught me a business side.
Yeah, she's brilliant and so kind as well.
She is so kind, and she started from the very beginning, even handwriting thank you notes to people that I would meet that might grant me a meeting that was just up, like a Joel Katz or, somebody else, just of that caliber that didn't have to. So that's somebody I still, when I have a question about a contract, or if maybe somebody wants me to do something, I want a fee, something like that, I'll call her and say, how would you create
How would you
this?
do this?
Do you have
Yeah.
any contracts if yourself, that you have that you'd recommend, or do you have ideas of maybe what I could suggest? But we communicate all the time, and we have fun together.
That's amazing.
We meet, and whenever we go to LA, we call each other, "Are you here?" And
Are you
one
here?
time
Are
I
you here?
called. One time I called, and one time she called me, and she goes, "Peacock, are you in LA?" And I was like, "Actually, I am." And she said, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I'm here with Bieber," but she said, "I've got to go over to Diane Warren's because she wrote the song for Bieber's movie that they did, and Jan produced the song, and so she had to go talk to her. And she goes, 'You want to go over, and see Diane?' And I was like, 'Sure.'"
Greatest story ever.
Yeah, I'd love to. And then on the way back, and I dropped her off at the hotel, Bieber's there, with his entourage, people, because they were getting ready to leave to go to some, I don't know, something.
Yeah.
Maybe down to Staples to practice for a concert. I'm not sure.
There are perks to
There are perks.
having a cool job and also great mentors. I think
I
that
know.
give you a leg up
Yeah.
and introduce you to people and just keep passing that along.
Art Ford is another one.
Oh, wow.
He's from LA. He used to be head of BMG Publishing. He taught me about the contracts work, especially with bands, because bands tend to break up. And so he goes, "You want to make sure you get contracts with all the members of the band, not just the band." Right. That he's been great. And the same thing, I can call him. He uses our catalog. He calls if he needs something that he doesn't have. Yeah. But I can call him, and he can, on the spot, call me back and help me out in a situation where I need contract information or something.
It's a gift.
Yeah, and then Patrick Reddick would be the last. And he's not in the music business per se. He's a turnaround man that I do work with. He's saved over 800 companies in the last 30 years. And it's all a very unique way of doing it, where he's one-on-one with the CEO, because if the CEO doesn't change, the company will never change. It's and so in working with him these last 7 years or so, I've learned a lot of the lessons that he teaches all these CEOs, and it's helped my business immensely.
That's huge.
He's a very talented, giving person. So.
And just pays it forward. And then you do that in your life, which I think is incredible, how it is to pay it forward.
Right.
That's how this business continues to thrive, and how we keep it a community instead of just transactional.
Right. I will say that mentioning that reminds me, when I was first writing, I was in Atlanta, and I was at an event, and someone I met, who's a lawyer, said, "Oh, one of my good friends is from Nashville, and he's a writer with Ray Stevens' company, and you should meet him sometime. I'll call him and tell him about you." And I'm thinking, I am a beginner writer. And you're setting me up with somebody with Ray Stevens' company. And he was bragging. He said, "Oh, he had the last Elvis cut, single." And I'm like, and he, worked with the Pointer Sisters and all these people. So I thought, okay, his name is Lang Martine. So Lang, you ever see this? We are connected. He met with me, and I told him, he knew I was green in this business. And I wanted to seriously learn how to do lyric writing.
Yeah.
And so after that conversation, he says, "Okay, I'll give you 1 year." And I was like, "You're going to give me 1 year? What is this all about?" Right. And he said, "Once a month, you can come up here." And he said, "We'll set up a time to get together, and we'll work for several hours." And he said, "I will teach you how to start getting used to writing lyrics and taking old songs and stripping their lyrics out, but listening to the music and writing new ones to it, just to get the cadence and get, rhyming going or whatever it was, And he had composition books, which I know you see me with. I always write with pencil,
I greatly admire.
Pencil still. And so, it's stacks of them. And I go, "Oh, what are all those?" And he goes, "Well, every writer I write with, I have different composition books." At the end of the year, we had a nice talk. Actually, this is a true story. I had an old jukebox in our home for parties, but it came with a bunch of records in it, and then I got others, 45s. But in this stack that was just in this, whoever owned this, was his song with Elvis. It was a 45.
That's amazing.
And so, oh my gosh, I was so nervous. So I packed it up in bubble wrap, put it in a box, and I thought, I'm going to give this to him, as a gift, but he probably already has them, And so I gave it to him, and he opened it up, and he just looked at me like almost with watery eyes, like, you don't want to give this to me. And I said, why not? And I said, it's your song, and I just want to thank you. He goes, I don't have a copy. He didn't have an original 45 of his song.
That must have meant the world.
Oh my
to
gosh,
him.
I was so
Yeah.
shocked.
And that is shocking
Yeah.
because you just think now, like in this day and age,
Mhm.
oh, you write a song and then they send
Mhm.
you, the mastered file
Right.
or whatnot.
Yeah.
So to think that
And-
someone like that never had access to the completed product.
And he said then, words that I'll never forget, he said, okay, this city is very special, and people that come here feel it. They feel the energy in Nashville. It's a writing city. And he said, we call it a fraternity of songwriters. And he said, so the law or the rule is, if someone has taken you under their wings and taught you at some time in your career, you have to give that time back. Wow. Keep the circle going.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. We never, and this is something I think writers need to know, you don't have to feel badly if you don't ever write with that major writer.
Yes. Yes. That's amazing. Nancy Peacock, you are
Thank you,
a joy and a teacher and a friend, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
And before we go, where can people connect with you on social media and just follow all the things from the music to the books that you're going to be doing?
Well, it's Washington Street Publishing, so it's washingtonstreetpublishing.com. And we have Facebook for Washington Street Music. There's also Facebook under Nancy Peacock. And I have LinkedIn, Nancy Peacock. I have Twitter, Nancy Peacock. And my Instagram is it's Washington Street Publishing, as well as Spotify is Washington Street Publishing.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've enjoyed this.
Same.